Hello everyone, and welcome to this video on setting up an instance schedule. So if you're not familiar, all an instance schedule really is well, a schedule, and then you add your VM instances to it, and then that schedule will start up those instances at a defined time and then shut them down at a defined time. Where might this come in handy? Well, let's say you have a personal project and it's running on a VM in GCP, and you don't want to worry about starting up that VM and running it every day, or starting it up at the time the task is going to execute and shutting down the instance, so you're not charged for that VM running 24/7 and giving your hard-earned money over to Google, which I believe has more than enough already. So, okay, all that out of the way, let's jump into a practical-ish example. So here I am in my GCP account, and I have a VM running Ubuntu Airflow. It has 2 cores, 8 gigs of RAM. You could probably get away actually with 1 core and 4 gigs running Airflow. I have gotten that going plenty of times. Not too many issues, but just to be safe, I went with the E2 Standard 2, and I just spun up Airflow running in Docker Compose. We can take a quick look at these files. There are going to be some gotchas here, but I'll try to touch on the main ones. So basically this has, let's see, Postgres, then the web server, the worker is actually running on that as well, and then the scheduler. And then I just went ahead, I have my public SSH key in the VM, my private one saved to my local PC, and then I put that in a config file. I have the SSH extension so I can connect to it through VS Code, and then I forwarded port 8080 so I can get to the UI here. And if we look, there's just one DAG, and I probably should have shown that. So it's going to go to the Chicago data portal, City of New York data portal. Just pull down 1,000 records from a data set, save it to a Parquet file, and then save that to Google Cloud Storage bucket. In my case, that's defined here at the top. Bucket McBucketface. For no other reason than it makes me giggle. And I'll try to remember to put this code to GitHub, so if you want to pull it down and play with it, you can. Pretty much the same setup. I have another video showing how to set that up with Terraform and a user script. I'll try to add that as well. I should really write down notes for that kind of stuff. So, okay, this is going to run starting January 1st, 2023. Catch up is false. It's going to run daily. So in Airflow, by default, I believe that is midnight UTC. Well, let's go ahead and run it just so we can see it in action here. Make sure I'm in the right window. And actually, let me switch over to my buckets first, just so we can see that it is indeed empty. Oh, it's not empty at the moment. So I'll just delete that. Okay. And now we can just go ahead and run that real quick. And that should just take a moment. And there we have our data. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and delete this folder. And I am going to keep the VM running just so I can adjust this. So let's see, I want to know UTC time now. So right now It is 12:04 a.m. UTC. So if I'm thinking about this, it's 6:04 Chicago time, PM. So I'm going to set this to run at, let's say 6:30. So that'll be 12:30 a.m. Oh, I know why there was something in my bucket. I just realized it went to midnight UTC while I was recording. That's pretty awesome. Probably don't find it as funny as I do, but I think that's hilarious. Okay, so we're going to set it for 6:30 a.m. UTC, which Airflow is in UTC. That's a gotcha to keep in mind, and I think that'll become clear in a moment. I'm going to go to crontab Guru. If you're not familiar, great web page. Makes doing this very easy. So if you can type, so I'm going to do it at 0:30 a.m. So that's going to be 12:30 UTC. So let me come back here, and I'm just going to, sorry, not the UI. There. So for the schedule interval, that there are some keywords, I think daily, weekly, maybe monthly as well. Or you can go ahead and put in cron time, like I just did. Catch up false. I don't want to run for every day it thinks it missed. Retries shouldn't really be necessary if you wanted to. It should fail fast, so maybe get away with 3 or 4 minutes and do 2 or 3 retries, depending on the span that you give for your VM to be up. Okay, that all looks good. I'm going to Control S to save it. And that gives us about 24 minutes to get this started, so let's go. It won't take that long, don't worry. I'm going to come down here to my VM instances, and I'm just going to stop this instance that's running. And actually that takes a little bit of time. There's a lag. And let's see here. I will point out another gotcha is I have restart always. So these containers were running, so when the VM comes back up, they should come back as well. A better way to do this would be, the name escapes me. I want to say system unit script, but basically a system script that you can have run through systemctl every time your VM shuts down or starts. Probably a little more control there, but just be aware of that. And these should all have restart always. Okay, so instance schedules. We'll go ahead and create one. Oh, no, not a VM instance. Instance schedules. It's hiding down here. Create instance schedule. I'm just going to call this demo region. Just pick one that's close to me. Iowa's fine. So the start time. Now this is actually going to be Chicago time. And I'm going to do 6:15 p.m. And I will circle back to this in a moment to explain why. Just so time doesn't get away from me. So for time zone, you are going to want to put in your country. And once you select that, you should be able to select the time zones that are known in your country. You can leave these blank. That will take effect immediately. And no end date. Central Standard Time, I'm in Chicago, so that lines up with me. I want to repeat this daily and submit. Okay, so now that we have this, we need to add our instance to it. So I want to add Ubuntu Airflow, and then, oh no, compute engine system service account, and we're given the service account here. It needs to have start and stop permissions. Okay, I'm just going to copy this, and let me open up a text editor just so we have that. Can I make that bigger? Okay. Now, you're probably thinking, if you're familiar with GCP, I can just go over to my service accounts. Oh, it's staying there. That's nice. So, I have a few service accounts here. This is the one I'm using in Airflow to write to the bucket. But if you notice, this one kind of looks like this account, but it's actually not. And this is a service account, but it's managed by Google, so I believe that's technically considered a service agent. Two ways you could do this. If you go to IAM, and you can, well, let's see. The easiest way would be to click here, and then you see very quickly service. Oh, it's hidden back here. So here we would just want to add another role and compute instance admin v1. Click that and save. And actually, you could also, I believe you can do this from service agents. Grant access. You can paste that in there. Oh, not that name, but just the name itself, and give it the role here, and then that will make it visible, and it should retain the roles given to it by Google. And that's not me, that's actually a different person on YouTube named Tech Trapture. I'll try to link his video down in the description. So he's got some good stuff. And remember, always give credit where credit is due. So those two methods are definitely picked up from him. Okay, we'll go ahead and save that. And we're going to go back to our VM instances. We have our instance schedule. I'm going to add instance to schedule, add. All right, just in the nick of time. And we should be able to go back to our instances here. No external IP address. You see that it's stopped. Sorry, I could have made that bigger, I suppose. Hopefully you all can see. Okay, the other way to do this would be gcloud command to add instance start and instance stop for account. And then if you have the Google SDK or gcloud CLI, I forget how it's properly called, and you have that authenticated, you would just go ahead, copy that, put in your project ID there, and then that should do it as well. And if we go ahead and go back here just to make sure we're on the same page. So here I am in testing field, but just to make sure, dashboard, this is my project ID. So it has numbers appended to the end. I know a lot of people get confused with that. So if you're running that command or using Terraform, a lot of other things that say, hey, project ID, and you keep getting an error saying project does not exist, just make sure you're using the actual ID from your dashboard. So, okay. I'm going to go back to my VM instances. And you notice it is 6:14. So, a few things to note is I scheduled this for, hopefully I scheduled this for, 12:30 a.m. UTC, which is going to be coming up in 15 minutes. Why did I do that? One of the big gotchas I ran into with the instance schedules is they don't really pop right up. I tried looking into that, the reasons for that. So when it goes to start up, it's going to look for resources, a place where it can go ahead and bring your VM up. I think that gets sidestepped if you have reservations, but if you're just working on personal projects, you probably haven't doled out money to get some kind of reservation that guarantees you availability of resources at a certain time, so you will get a lag. Also, once that instance comes up, the instance is not instantly ready to go. There are certain things that start up, of course, when you start up your home computer, and then on top of that, you have Docker Compose coming up, bringing up those containers, so that takes some time. Be aware of that. I've seen it take maybe up to about 15 minutes is the max I've seen. Not saying it couldn't go longer, but then by making the instance schedule start 15 minutes before I set my DAG to start, fingers crossed that gives it enough time to bring up the instance, bring up Airflow, and start it, run the DAG, and then be done by the time it shuts down. Of course, you could, a lot of variables you could switch there. I guess you could set catch up to true, and then, maybe if it starts a little bit late past the schedule, then it'll still run. I'm going to give this one more refresh, and then I'll go ahead and pause for a few moments and come back once I start seeing some activity. Okay, here we are at 6:22, so 7 minutes. So it looks like that came up. And I'm going to give it a few refreshes here just to show that's empty. And we do have an external IP address, so we've still got 8 minutes to go until our DAG is going to run. So I just wanted to show you that lag time that you can have. Again, I think the longest I've ever personally encountered was 12 or 13 minutes, but I just round that up to 15 just to be safe. Okay, we'll pick back up here at 6:29. Okay, here we are with about 30 seconds left. I guess I could have used that pause time to add the new IP to my config file, reconnected with VS Code, gone ahead and done the port forward if it needed redoing, and we could have seen what was going on, but I've got faith. I think that DAG is going to run, so we'll just sit here a moment. Should be relatively quick. And there we go. All right. I was afraid I was going to have to fill up the space with talking, and I usually end up tripping over my own words. Okay, so that went ahead and ran great. So what's going to happen now? Well, If you saw here in our instance schedules, we can go back 6:45 p.m. every day. You know, I probably could have shortened it, but it really depends. So many knobs to turn. So if, say, you're using an API that seems to fail quite a bit, I've run into those, and you want to do retries, you can give yourself that extra padding. And also something to note is I've noticed it really doesn't, maybe 50% of the time, it starts shutting down right at the time specified. There does seem to be some wiggle room there, and just however that mechanism in the background is shutting down the instance. So let's go ahead and tear down what we made. So you don't have to do the steps in this exact order, but I'm going to go ahead and stop the instance. Another gotcha here. Not really a gotcha, but if you went ahead and just tried to delete this, it would say it's already being used in projects, Ubuntu Airflow. That's because my instance is still in this schedule. So if I go in and just remove that from the schedule, might take a moment. Give it a refresh here. And it's working on it there, I can tell. Of course, that could be for me stopping my instance. Okay. So I'm guessing it already removed it, and because I'm trying to remove it twice, there we go. All right. And we could probably delete that here. Are you sure you want to delete instance schedule policy demo? So you can do it there or here. Delete demo, go ahead and delete that. And of course, instances, we can just go ahead and, let's see, delete that. Okay, that should take care of the cleanup. So let's do a few gotchas here while they're maybe in my mind. Going back to the Docker Compose. So good thing I still have kind of a shadow copy showing here. DAGs are paused at creation, true. You're going to want to set that to false. That way the DAG isn't paused. Of course, you can spin up the VM one time, go ahead and run it, unpause it, and then you should be good to go with subsequent reboots in the schedule. But that is something I have run into. Let's see. Again, I'll try to put together a nice GitHub repo just for this demo. But you do need to have a service account with Google Cloud Storage write access, at least, I believe. I kept mine broad with Cloud Storage Admin. And I think that is about it for the gotchas I can think of. But I'm sure I'm missing a few. So let's go to a cost estimation real quick, and why I think this is a good tool for everyone to have. So if I was going to create an instance, all that's fine as the default. We did, like I said, this E2 medium I have gotten Airflow and Docker Compose to run on pretty much without issue, but if you want to be safe, I found the E2 standard 2 is good. So that's going to be about 7 cents an hour. And really that's about the only thing I'd change. I would make that Ubuntu, but that shouldn't affect the price. Let me just make sure I'm not lying to you. So, okay, still about 7 cents an hour. So this is going to be a rough estimate at best, but I can't make that bigger, but let's say 7 cents an hour, and say you run that every day for a month. We have an instance schedule for a half hour, so I'll just multiply that by 15. And again, you can play with that and shorten it, but you're really looking at about $1 that's going to cost you. Give or take, I think. There's probably other factors in there. You have the cloud storage, and depending on what you're doing, but compared to even if you were, if you're running this 24/7, yes, huge savings. And again, you just don't have to come in, manually start and stop it, or forget to stop it, as I've done many, many times, and then you rack up a few bucks there. So maybe some project ideas. I know Open Weather API has an API to get the current weather and I think a forecast for 24 hours. But if you want their historic weather data, you have to pay maybe $50 for a year, and they'll give you the weather every day, hourly. But if you did this and wrote it to Google Cloud Storage, it would probably save you maybe half. Let's see, or 75% thereabouts. And you'd have a cool project just kind of showing how you use GCP, cloud storage, and orchestrator, that kind of thing. If there is a large data set that, say, updates every day or every week, you could adjust your schedule accordingly. Use something like DLT to kind of capture the changes and rewrite that Parquet file or whatever type of format you prefer. That might be a good one. Maybe find a way to incorporate something like Delta Table or Iceberg, where it captures those changes, treats the files like a database, and then you can look back across time over the data. Those are just some ideas that come to mind. Maybe get the idea juices flowing for you. And of course, you don't have to use Airflow. You could do Kestra or Dagster or Mage AI, or even just a Python script with a cron job. So many different ways you could bend this. That's why I've been wanting to make this video, and I'm glad I finally got it out there for you. But that's it for this video, and I'll see you in another one.